Okay, now I am Chad Parento coming at you live from Copley Square, only it's daytime somehow. And so this is a recording. By the time you hear this, I'll be dead tired from work. But I am still here to give you Snowsuit Poetry tonight, our last feature of January and the first of our 2 weeks worth of, at least worth of features. We have another feature next week with Jamelia Van Dyke Bailey. And tonight we have Margaret Young, whose brand new collection is coming out from Main Street Rag later on. I think it's next month, you said, or is it coming sooner in March, Margaret?
This year. They're not.
This year.
This year.
We don't need specifics around here, but here we go. But the name of the book from the Main Street Rag press is How Else Can We Know It's Beautiful, which if you get it through the link that is in the chat and will later be on Facebook and on YouTube and elsewhere, you can actually purchase the book ahead of time for half the regular cost. The cost is going to be, it looks to be about $13, $7.50 if you buy it tonight. So I urge you all to grab this book and support Main Street Rag, which is press has been going on for, I'd say, almost at least close to 20 years at least. I was submitting to, actually more than that, because I was submitting to them back in 2002 and 2003. So they've been around a lot. They've published quite a few journals, they've issues, they've published quite a few books of people I know and people I've yet to know. So this is a high recommendation. So definitely wish Margaret luck, and hoping with the press run is good, and that you can help by letting Main Street Rag Press know that you want this book. And I am just delaying long enough to grab the bio note for Margaret, who's going to be starting us off tonight. And we have it right here. I love reading the boilerplate, and I love that we have such a good turnout tonight, and I know it's going to only increase in size as we continue. And I should also say this is Margaret Young's second time as Snowsuit. She is returning, and it's good to have her back. I always love return features. Margaret Young is the author of Willow from the Window, Almondtown, and Light Summer. She has translated 2 collections of haiku from the Spanish by Sergio Enestrosa, which I probably butchered the pronunciation of. 2 collections are forthcoming, a chapbook entitled How Else Can We Know It's Beautiful, and The Water Bear. She currently lives in Beverly. She is joining us via our virtual podium. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Let's say 30, 40 times virtually, or however you want to do it, for Margaret Young.
Thank you. Chad, thanks so much for inviting me and for just being a big supporter of all poets, especially poets around here. And welcome everyone. I've read a lot of places, but I've never read on one of these before. So if I do anything awkward, that's why. So I'm reading most of How Else Can We Know It's Beautiful. Ritual. Mark a circle on the earth. Start digging. Dig until you're deep enough you can't see the surface unless you climb out. Keep digging until you reach another substance, water, gold, oil. While you're digging, sing about how hard it is, how your ancestors dug their way to freedom even if they didn't. Go deeper, hit a rock, hit several, dig until you fall down. Sleep a while with worms in your hair, grit in your socks, paintings of bones inside your brain. This is basically an ode to a weed. All gardeners will know this one. And it's one of those poems where the title goes right into the first line. Pokeweeds, all this much too muchness, magenta bracts the berries dangle from, pink as the T-Mobile lady's dress and motorcycle, pea green berries that go patent leather black, stems Fibonacci twist into enormous stalks, sapling thick by August, and whatever nutrients and medicine the shoots had, if you boiled them twice, draining the water each time, are ripened to poison. I've got a few prose poems in this volume, and this is one of them. Mrs. Van Sloan. Mrs. Van Sloan has dropped her groceries on the kitchen floor. The cats come in, size up the situation. Mrs. Van Sloan's children aren't home. Mr. Van Sloan is not in the picture. The stove under its hanging pans stands patient as an almanac. Fire is here, and ice inside the bulky fridge. Salt streams across the floor, eggs spill from boxes. Mrs. Van Sloan knows this isn't how you make an omelet. Art. We were exploring the museum in groups of 7 or 8 when suddenly a huge package on the ceiling burst open, releasing hundreds of fluffy hats. In minutes, everyone was wearing one. And there was Dad, looking like the Cowardly Lion. He's going to be mad at this picture I'm posting. We all have regrets. How else can we know what's beautiful? Since I wrote this poem, I've had more cats and learned that about half of them, very unscientific statistics, do the thing that's this poem is describing. But my first cat, I thought it was like weird, unusual. The first time I saw this, Tom Waits was playing loud. Most afternoons, my first cat climbed onto my empty bed and masturbated, sweatshirt or blanket clenched in his teeth, front paws lifting one by one, yellow eyes turned slightly down. He was neutered, his first owner in the nursing home. No front claws either. This poem takes place in Pittsburgh. Southside Flats. The bike cops likely back here trolling the Monongahela Bank, the railroad tracks, for homeless camps and kids taking drugs, but finds instead me picking mulberries. Wild, no crime. He stops and asks, "How are they?" I say, "Pretty good. There's always one tree or one side that tastes the best." This poem takes place in Argentina, and Shakira, if you don't know, is a really big pop star. Advertisement. In Bahia Blanca's helado shop are 5 flavors of dulce de leche. There's a TV where Shakira's dressed in white, asleep in a red cavern. Cut to a woman eating a spoonful of yogurt. Cut back to Shakira, who stands up slowly, and suddenly there are many Shakiras dancing in unison. There, the lady's gut bacteria and probiotics in the yogurt made them dance. We know this even with the sound turned off. This one takes place in California, but the title refers to 2 networks that are from Mexico and Latin America. So that's the title. Telemundo Univision. Nursing, shelling peas one-handed, arcade fire, suburbs turned up, and telenovelas on mute. Duelo de pasiones, dos amores de Ana. A man falls from a horse scared by a rattlesnake. A woman staggers, hugely pregnant, across a footbridge. The pig-tailed girl pulls a knife on the man in the cowboy hat. The lovers kiss in water to their waists. The villainess is always blonde. The wounded man cries out for Emilio. The drive-in. The speakers had long stopped working by the time we went to Revenge of the Nerds Part 2, all wearing neckties from Allison's collection. The sound was broadcast on AM radio. We couldn't get that, so we sat on the warm hoods of our cars, drinking illicit beer and cheering on the silent nerds. Who won? Of course. Mysterious monster. It only comes out at night, says Sophie. It eats pears. It ate the lilac and some chard. A path traces from the pokeweed thicket and across the lawn. So, woodchuck, but we prefer monsters. I had a backyard monster when I was Sophie's age, the Walzack. He came out of the creek each Halloween and fought the pumpkin man and lost. This poem takes place in Slovenia. Maribor. 1. In front of the plague column, a woman adjusts her selfie stick. 2. The pug sags in his folds of skin and fat. His owner explains his front teeth are gone because he's old. Her hair's dyed a defiant blonde. She's leafing through a book of photos from her grandparents' time, amber prints of children, parades, and factories. The espresso machine hisses out another cup. Just outside the door, the Drava River flows under the bridge. The last dance of the animatronic bears. We are poured one small drink each, not so much to numb the pain as for the picture made by liquid twinkling in our glasses and raised hands. The drumming bear has eyes that shift from side to side. The keyboard bear nods cheerfully. We start to tap our feet and nod in time. We hear distant explosions, water rising, but the song is so catchy, the bear's ragged fur so brave. We start to sing along. Anxiety. I dream I'm due on stage in 10 minutes. The dress they've given me has holes. There's also something yellow. Are we sure we're not doing period costume? There's this white lace one, but it's see-through and there's nothing to wear under it. And where's that script? I should really look it over. One study says worriers are better prepared for life. They take fewer risks, and risks are dangerous. I wasn't anxious until my 30s. When I turned 30, I played a series of 18-year-olds, starting with Cecily in The Importance of Being Earnest. She imagines her way out of her pink rose garden, writes true love into being. Church. I always bring my dog. He likes to hear his toenails clicking on the cool stone floor. My cane taps out a counter rhythm. Stained glass saints look on. The ceilings are less changeable than skies, They make us think of heaven. There's another dog. He lies next to a tomb as if waiting for his master's resurrection. Someone must feed him. Memo. We're waiting for the big order at Carl's Jr. We have art to make, a talking dance with wings brushing the present moment. Space flexes its fabric and we print it with our limbs. Our gaze turns to icy clouds, red mountains, to towers faced with glass that winks at us. This poem is modeled after a poem by Ada Limon, which I think a lot of people use in their poetry teaching classes. Origins. I've come here from an estuary clogged with water lilies and fertilizer runoff. I've come here from a bike shed, a cloudscape, a lawn strewn with sycamore leaves. I was born on stolen ground with renamed rivers, plains scraped and ridged by glaciers. I don't remember what I first saw, but there were smells of garlic rubbed into a wooden bowl, of curry lotion and pipe tobacco. I don't remember my grandmother, the moon landing, my trip across the ocean in an enormous ship. I remember popsicles melting on a little metal table, a pink balloon in an elevator, a nameless brown pony in an orchard. We couldn't ride it, and a black and white one named Chester that we could. I'm gonna try stand different. All right. International Water Day at Assisted Living. Here's a poem by Hopkins, Inversnade, about a stream. He became a Catholic priest. Long live the weeds and the wilderness yet. Where did your home water flow? Plum Creek, Black River, Allegheny, the Mystic, the Merrimack, the Atlantic Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. Those of you who do not speak, do you hear streams? Those of you asleep, adrift in your wheelchairs, are you dreaming of the sea? The title of this poem refers to a profession I don't think we have anymore. A Gandhi dancer was someone who straightened out the railroad ties with a giant sledgehammer, I think. Grandpa was a Gandhi dancer. He dreamed that he was young and handsome. His clothes fit, but he was in the hospital. Goldfinches guzzle thistle seed from his Space Needle feeder. Grandma liked birds, liked cardinals best. Her bird book still sits next to her chair. My geraniums take root in pots on Grandpa's porch. Red, red. I'm 36, between jobs he's never liked the sound of. He wants me out, me with my bare feet and patched up jeans, my stacks of books and complications. Family doesn't do this in our family. Grandpa would rather live out his days paying strangers to wipe his ass, to make his coffee. And I got two more. shore. The baby doe who washed up, wrapped in a little blanket, they found out her name. Her name was Bella Bond. Yesterday, on Brackenbury Beach, there were thousands of white shells, smaller than dimes, dotting the sand and wrack like stars, polished clean, like there was never anything inside that died. And this is another one of those where the title runs into the first line. Let's hear it for new lobster traps, remote controlled, so whales don't swim into the lines. For tiny drones that fly into the spray the whales blow from their blowholes, collecting data from the snot. Let's hear it for the one in every 10,000 lobsters born blue. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening.
A nice round of applause. Keep it going for Miss Margaret Young. Her book is coming out later this year and is available for purchase for just half the asking price when it finally does get printed. So you can take an advance order. Let Main Street Rag Press know that the book is wanted. Title of the book is How Else Can We Know What's Beautiful? And for anyone who came in a little late, I'm posting the link again for anyone who is interested. And what is Water Bear, the other book that's going to be coming out?
It's a full length, and the press that took it wanted it much longer, so I cannibalized a book that's been traveling around for years. And so it's, yeah, a combination of new poems and older poems. And yeah. Do you know what a water bear is?
Off the top of my head, I do not.
It's also called a tardigrade, and they are these super cool, super microscopic animals that can like dry out and live for, I mean, yeah, they're everywhere, and they look really cool on an electron microscope. But the press isn't letting me put one of them on the cover because they say it's like a cliche already. So,
oh wow.
So suggestions on what would be a good cover that's not a water bear.
Well, I'm sure the think tank can make a couple of suggestions. I'm sure John Wesnick just wrote 5 suggestions before he even said that sentence.
Let me know.
But so the think tank, what else if not a water bear? That's your challenge. Your other challenge is to buy the book tonight. Click the link and grab it, and thank Margaret I thank Margaret once again for an amazing reading. A little something different tonight. We are doing the open mic following the feature. If Margaret wants to do an encore at the end, she's more than welcome to. But now, if there's anyone who's here for the first time, I think there's only 1 or 2 at best, but if anyone wants to read and would like to, definitely let me know in the chat and we'll go from there. For now, the Ramdonator 5000 has selected the poets going on. This is a virtual open mic. No one signs in at the door, so I sign you in at the door. And then I put your name in the Ramdonator, and they choose, the Ramdonator chooses who goes next. The Ramdonator identifies as a they, them. But anyway, let's welcome up, first picked by the Ramdonator, Mr. Richard Spizak.
Thank you so much.
You okay?
Yeah. Yes, I'm fine. I have a political piece for you, a couple later when time permits, perhaps. But this first one is called Send Out for Drones. If you sendeth out for drones, do be sure they're not headed out just to bounce back in the door alone. They'll be rushing home Drones run on a two-way street. Just one way, sadly, ain't complete. Yes, it is an inexpensive technology, but you must understand it is, without an apology. What's good for the mega power is good for the dink. After all, what's it about? After you consider ultra mega budgets, what do you think? Spend 100,000 for a spying eye, or spend 100 million? What's the big surprise? The Defense Department has a zillion ways of massacring DNA. Now the costs are spiraling down just to keep our sky eye peeping down, or to pepper them with raining fire if that's what the wanton bloody planners now require. Set a couple hundred villagers on fire. Sure, a couple extra dozen villages were lost, but now just using drones with so little cost, even the villagers in a tiny hut can send them out and show who's boss, and just like a great power, make the cut. Now it only takes a village, not a destroyer, can cause the concussion blast so deplorable, disturbing nations across the globe, and all of that made from a kid hiding behind a commode.
Thank you, Richard. Up next, I'm gonna bring in, or I should rather, the Remninator is going to bring in. Let's see. If Jan Rose able to get our stuff together, I thought you were off to the loo. I was gonna say your name right away, but I wasn't sure. But if you're ready, we're ready.
Okay. I read this in Black Seed Writers yesterday at the open mic. Every Tuesday, Cathedral St. Paul, Tremont, Park Street. So things change. I did this in the 1970s, so would not do it today. In the winter, I drove a 250 Suzuki motorcycle back to the Eastern Shore, Maryland from Annapolis, across the 4-mile long Bay Bridge over the Chesapeake. My first spouse drove the car. That's another story. So back to driving a 250 Suzuki motorcycle 4 miles over the Bay Bridge in the winter to the Eastern Shore. There was a recent pileup of dozens of cars going the other way, but I remember when there was only one bridge. Okay. So going over there 4 miles in the winter, I had started with cold sores on my lips. The cold sores were completely frozen off somehow. And I no longer have to wear eyeglasses for my license. I used to have a license restriction before that ride to wear glasses. So I was looking down through a drainage grate on that Bay Bridge from Annapolis to the Eastern Shore, and I saw the Chesapeake Bay waters about 100 feet down. And I try to keep the motorcycle front tire away from the grate. I really hadn't expected that grate to be able to see down there. So yesterday, this is where I ended it. And so people said, well, what happened? I said, well, I made it. And it just goes to show sometimes when we do things and we had wanted them, it's like, oh yeah, it happened. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Up next, let's go to Mr. Ken Johnson.
Regrettably, I've got plans 2 weeks from tonight, so I don't know if you were planning on doing this, but being Valentine's Day. So I'm going to share this with you guys now and ahead of time, because I might have to do something next week. So I got to get this in before Valentine's Day. It's called Your Inconvenient Valentine. A Valentine, not to the one I love. You're not the one I'm thinking of. Won't bother me if we should part. You're not the one dwells in my heart. There's still a someone living there, despite her passing. I still care, though she's a jealous, petty ghost. She's still the one whom I've loved most. This inconvenient Valentine stupors me silly with crass rhymes. And why? Because, should you dare ask it, I pulled your name out from a basket. And what have you, heart room to let, discussed it with your husband yet? I drew you as my Valentine, but must postpone some other time. What, am I on mute here? Okay.
That's a heck of a left swipe. Anyway, thank you so much, sir. And our next person coming up, we have some people coming in. The next person is going to be Julian Matthews, if he so wishes. He first joined Stone Soup last week as part of the open mics. I'm glad to have him back.
Hi. Can I share screen?
I can do that. Give me one sec. Forgot to give the permission. I don't have Robert Fleming to keep me up on making sure the screen is shared. Give me one sec. Recognition. One sec. Oh, here we go. Okay, you should be able to do it now.
Thank you. So I've been writing a series of poems on personification of things, objects. So this one is a swimming pool talking to us. Yeah. Rectangle dreamer, a short one. Tonight, as every night, I'm closed, cool as any sedentary fool, emptied of splashing arms and legs, no screechy fry to agitate the chlorine and sear my one watery eye. Always so glad when left alone I can be still, reflect the moonlight, and swoon to the meditative rotation of my friend, Mr. Night Sky, pegged with stars, a rectangular hole, pondering my onerous faith as human playmate instead of shimmering poet. This one is called The Opener. That illusion about a can of worms hurts. I don't go around cracking open Pandora boxes for nothing. My openings are neither slippery nor mythical. They are meant to nourish, provide a lifeline. I am the original bladed runner in your top drawer. Look, I have a hook that penetrates, a sickle that serrates, one knock on my knob, then a firm grip in circular motion, and off I go, edging along the rim in up and down repetition. I lever forward with increasing intensity, every action, a gut reaction to make you come undone, turning your cannots into can-dos, each completed circumference, another tiny journey to free captive souls once closeted in cool, dry places. Don't let them lessen you by labeling you as spammy or too cheesy or corny or just a pile of beans. You are a pet treat, peaches and cream, a cocktail of delight, sweetness in a nutshell, ripeness worth preserving. You are the welcome closure from uncanned disclosure, and I am ever ready to serve a humble opener to your star-crossed headlined feature. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. Up next, let's welcome up the. Oh, did you leave already? You might have actually left. My bad. Let's see. I thought Jason Wright was gonna be here, but someone who came all the way from a special James Madison presentation, lecture, impersonation contest. I'm sure he won first place. Let's welcome up Mr. Bill Lewis.
Thank you, Chadford. The adulation of my adoring fans always gives me great pleasure. Yes, I work hard for you, the little people, that you will have the things that I need to provide for you, because we who are great and marvelous must look out for those of you who are small and tiny and I don't know what a poem is sometimes. I just write things. I don't know if it's a poem. I love it that my students thank me at the end of each class. My poem. And I've just been reading this little bit of an autobiography by Andrew Garcia, a Spanish American, whatever, who came up to Montana and Idaho in the late 1870s. So just after Custer and all of that. And I just love, here is this guy, he's a young man. He has decided to go out into the wilderness and open a store. And after numerous harrowing adventures, he has settled down by Musselshell in Montana and is selling things to all passers-by. And all passers-by are largely the Cree and the Pondereys and the Utes and the evil Blackfeet. The Blackfeet are the bad guys, because the Pondereys and the Blackfeet are always going to, all these tribes are always going to war and stealing each other's horses, and it's just weird. But anyway, our hero, known as Squaw Kid, because he is marrying a Nez Perce girl who has been kidnapped by the Pondereys, but he is going to marry her anyway. So this is all weird, and the Pondereys are pissed at him. But the Pondereys love him anyway because he sells stuff. It was not long at old Gabriel's teepee before the squaws began to bring in wood for the fire. Soon the smell of roasting buffalo comes through the air. All around the fire are large chunks of meat sticking up on sharp sticks. Squaws are busy turning them around so they will not burn. Soon the feast was on. It was a wild sight to see all them buck Injuns and breeds with their women and papooses squatting around the fire. An old gray-haired Cree starts the ball rolling by saying grace and asking a blessing on all of us in the Cree language. Even though in those days, those Injuns and the Pondereys were Bronco Catholics and prayed every time they ate. And they went to sleep, and when they got up in the morning, their religion did not take very deep, however, for even Katali, Soset, and Squee, with other beautiful Ponderey maids, would solemnly roll their eyes heavenward and respond to good old Gabriel's prayers in the morning and night, with a look of sanctity on their faces, worthy of the prophet and the saints of old. But they soon forgot this and would sneak back to squaw paradise to blow their hands and buck and squeal and kick over their traces every time the whiffletrees touch their heels. They're having lots of fun. We were soon eating, everyone for herself, cutting off slices and chunks of sibling buffalo meat. Engine etiquette and process was simple. You ate the piece as soon as you could, then lick the grease off your finger, then cut off another chunk, not forgetting to give to your favorite dogs who were sitting behind you on their haunches. You kept at it this way until you got tired of eating, then laid off for a while to give you the required determination to start the feast again. So yes, we eat really well back in the day. How much buffalo meat do you want? You know how much one buffalo provides? You will eat until you are fat. Ah, so I love that little reading.
Oh, to have real buffalo wings. Okay, anyway, but I am just drinking now. Let's have up next at our open mic. And thank you, Bill. And welcome back from the James Madison Convention. Let's welcome up Mr. Jeff Taylor.
Thank you, Chad. Good to be here. I really enjoyed the feature tonight. Thank you, Margaret, for reading for us. I was looking at Main Street Rag Press, and lots of good poems. In 1996, I see that it was the
that's-
first time that they published their magazine.
Wow.
It's been around for a while.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to read this poem called Your Neighbor's Yard. When we walk home from the store, we walk home from the store as I try to convince you to have sex with me in your neighbor's yard. What a date I am, baby. Crabgrass and pebbles up your ass. You refuse, tell me I'm dirty, complain about being horny, and look at me like you want me to fuck you on your neighbor's lawn. 3 cruisers fly by, sirens racing, protecting, serving. The cat comes out of the yard with a pigeon in its mouth, trying to tell me something I can't understand. That's your neighbor's yard. And this one is replace. I wrote for my wife. I chain smoke to replace you. Every thought about pressing my lips to yours, another cigarette. When I finally drank the butts at the end of my can, I quit quitting you. That's that one. I think that'll do it for tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. And up next, let's welcome up Mr. John Wesick.
Hello. So here's a story that just got published in Freedom Fiction, and I put a link in the chat. I'll just read the opening, and if you like it, you can follow the link and read the rest. It's called The Cashier Always Rings Twice. I was sitting in my basement office at 4th and Drucker with nothing to keep me company but a bottle of rye whiskey and a bad attitude. Business was slow. It was already the 10th of the month, and Mom was bugging me about the rent. Then an American black bear walked in. She had a broad skull and narrow muzzle covered with dense underfur and long, coarse guard hairs. Is this the Pill Bottle Detective Agency? That's right. I tilted back my fedora to get a better look at her. Morris Pill Bottle, owner and general manager at your service. Being the only employee, that pretty much made me both, but knowledge is power, so I didn't tell her that. Morris, huh? I thought detectives were supposed to have manly names like Dick, Rod, or Johnson. If you wanted to discuss Freud's theory, I said you'd be better seeing Dr. Feigenbaum at Drucker and Forth or taking Intro to Psych at the Antelope Valley Community College. What gives? My name is Ursula Fogbottom. I think somebody followed me here. Tall guy in khaki pants and a pale blue shirt. Yeah, Ursula sat on her haunches. That's David Attenborough. He won't bother you. I poured a shot of whiskey into a clean glass and slid it over to her. I don't get many bears in here. At these prices, no wonder. Ursula wrapped her meaty paws around the glass, but couldn't get the hang of lifting it. I'll ask again, what gives? I'm hosting a banquet and need somebody to pick up some tofu, broccoli, and oyster sauce at the grocery store. She tapped her short, rounded claws on my desk. I propose to pay you a tidy sum to do my shopping. Just how tight are we talking about? I asked. $5. That doesn't even fold my laundry. 10. Still leaves a lot of dirty dishes in the sink. 12. What about the lime stains in the shower? 20. You drive a hard bargain, Mr. Pillbottle. Ursula Fogbottom stood and extended her paw. Do we have a deal? I shook and watched her walk out the door. She had the full figure of someone who'd foraged berries and raw salmon in preparation for a long winter snooze. Smart mammal, but she got one thing wrong. I drove a Hyundai. I buckled my snub-nosed 45 under my trench coat and went shopping. I grabbed a basket from inside the sliding doors. The dispenser of sanitizing cloths was empty, so I took my chances with the residue left over from employees desperate for a tilapia fillet or carton of chicken tenders on their way home from the daily grind of spreadsheets, corporate mission statements, and cold calling consumers to sell extended warranties for the napkin rings they bought sometime during the Clinton administration. The produce section was a collection of afterthoughts from America's meat-based diet, a cornucopia of dietary sermons ignored by children and adults alike. I found the broccoli between the Brussels sprouts and button mushrooms. Only 2 pieces remained. The florets were yellow as a Bedouin's urine, and the stalks as limp as an 80-year-old watching Barney the dinosaur while getting a root canal from Cinderella's stepsisters. Some guys might be into that, but I wasn't, especially at $8.99 a pound. The tofu was the ugly duckling in a flock of tempeh, hummus, vegan hot dogs, and impossible beef Wellington. I collected 2 packs, along with a bottle of Lee Kum Kee oyster sauce from the Asian section, when I returned to produce for one last look. The broccoli was gone.
Dun, dun, dun. Thank you, Mr. Weswick. I'll check out the link later. Sorry, just reading the comments. Let's welcome up, if he is so able to join us, Mr. Robert Fleming. The screen share has already been enacted.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Robert Fleming, a visual poet from Delaware, who is bringing to us selections to read for the Stone Soup Players. Tonight, I'd like to bring a scene from one of my favorite movies. It is the 1939 movie starring Charles Heston as Ben-Hur. The scene is a scene between Charlton Heston when he is a slave in the Roman servitude in a ship, and Jack Hawkins, who is a Roman major in charge of the ship. This is a picture of Ben-Hur and Quentin Arias in the bottom of the ship. And this is another image in the cabin of Quentin Arias. So we have 2 players, and one is Ben-Hur and one is Quentin Arias. Do we have any volunteers who'd like to do a cold reading of the scene from Ben-Hur?
Well, of course, we all want to do it. I mean, there's so many people just dying to do this. I mean, you have to choose from among us. I mean, go Ben. She is great.
So Bill, would you like to be Ben-Hur?
I can do Mrs. Hur.
Are you going to be Mrs. Hur? And who would like to be the Roman soldier?
I'll do it, Robert.
Wonderful. So this scene starts when Ben-Hur enters Quentin Arias's chamber when Quentin is slightly sleeping.
Why are you here?
Just to make sure, have we already, exchanged our gender pronouns and everything? Because everybody knows I'm sort of a hairy chest, but I'm a her, so I don't want to screw this up. So we've done pronouns.
Yes, which pronoun would you like to be tonight, Bill?
Well, I'm a her, so I don't want people to think I'm weird about this. So anyway, okay, I'm ready for this. Start again, please. Start again.
Why are you here?
I was ordered to report to you during my release, sir.
Oh, yes, I had forgotten. You could have killed me as I lay there. You're a condemned man. Why didn't you?
I am not ready to die.
What do you think will save you?
The God of my fathers.
Your God has forsaken you. He has no more power than the ends I pray to. My gods do not help me. Your God will not help you. I might. Does that interest you, 41? I can see that it does. I'm a fighting man by profession, and in my leisure moments it amuses me to train fighting men. I own some of the best gladiators and charioteers in Rome. Would you like to become one of them?
Damn, you are what hot mother. Woo, excuse me. Um, to die as your slave?
Better than to live in chains below these decks.
I shall not be here forever.
No, what did you do if you escaped?
2 people were condemned with me, my mother and my sister. Even though they were innocent, I will not rest.
You do not say that you were innocent.
Do any good if I did, sweetheart?
No, now consider my offer carefully. You will never escape while we are victorious. If we are not, you will sink with this ship chained to your oar.
I can't believe that God has let me live these 3 years to die chained to an oar.
It's a strange, stubborn faith you keep, to believe that existence has a purpose. A sane man would have learned to lose it long before this.
As you have, honey, what drove it out of you?
Go back to your oar, 41.
Thank you. I've never heard such a beautiful performance of Ben-Hur as a her.
Well, thank you very much. I have never had this here opportunity before. It is such an honor. Go, yay, Robert! Bravo, Robert! Robert! Robert!
Thank you,
Thank you.
Robert, and this, thank you for this, thank you, Robert and the Snowsuit Players. Up next. It's, oh, is Deborah B interested in reading? Okay, I assume not. We're going to bring up next a little musical interlude with Ethan Mackler. And here he is. Thank you, Ethan. And now our last person on the open mic sheet for tonight. Check out his column at oddballmagazine.com. And if you haven't yet, consider submitting to Oddball Magazine yourself for the new year. Got a lot going on. Timely pieces on current events, also very welcome. We do have now a rotating staff of what I call the roving poets covering the news, but we can always use more. This person covers everything in his weekly poem column. It's all one thing. Publishes every Thursday morning without fail at 11 a.m. Let's welcome up Mr. James Van Loy.
Thanks, Chad. So I have a poem here called Poe's Maelstrom in the Underground. So it's another subway poem, and it has a quote that goes with it from Poe's short story, The Descent into the Maelstrom. And the quote is, "I must have been delirious, for I even sought amusement in speculating on the relative velocity of their several descents toward the foam below. I just keep thinking how much it hurts and how I keep trying over and over and over to figure out what exactly I can actually do as I'm studying, compulsively praying and again flat out contemplating on all that everything passing by and the layers of the spirals, vortex spinning past and everything all around me, this piece of flotsam too, flotsam amidst flotsam, the spitting foam swirling and swirling so far below, with the sky being swallowed, disappearing from above. Down, down, down I go, lost in this gathering black hole. Dim rebellion, an unnamed GI tract, afflicted old belly. I hear Benjamin Franklin's play on words so sage, old saw, saying, hang together or hang separately. And there's my one true phobia, choking to death. The way my mom died, so horrible, of lung cancer. I keep thinking of all who need to be healed. I keep seeking new labyrinth designs. I keep going down through layers, geologic strata, chapters of books, and the information swirls faster and ever faster it goes. Great rush of the echo tube, sound way down in tunnel of people together, spun by the transit. And here's a song. Some say love, it is a river that drowns the tender reed. Some say love, it is a razor that leaves your soul to bleed. Some say love, it is a hunger, an endless aching need. I say love, it is a flower, and you, its only seed. It's the heart afraid of breaking that never learns to dance. It's the dream afraid of waking that never takes a chance. It's the one who won't be taken, who cannot seem to give, and the soul afraid of dying that never learns to live. When the night has been too lonely and the road has been too long, and you think that love is only for the lucky and the strong, just remember, in the winter, far beneath the bitter snow, lies the seed that with the sun's love in the spring becomes the rose. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James Van Loy. Given that given that we just heard the open mic and we had Margaret's feature in the beginning, I wonder if Margaret wants to do a little encore or not before we sign out. I'll take that as a maybe. Looks like you have to unmute. I just clicked on the ask to unmute button, so you should be all set. There you go.
Yeah, as long as it's like normal, I feel like there's this beautiful culture where y'all know what's going on. So, again, I've really enjoyed being a guest and hearing everybody's, yeah, I love the mix of genre. Okay, last one here, and yeah, there's needs no introduction. Summer theater residency. The high school hallways fill up with our voices, with children and chairs. In the home ec room, we spread out props, buffets of peanut butter, we hang up costumes. I've set 6 basil seedlings in a planter in the courtyard. I've got the biggest costume, Hero's wedding gown, thrifted and eerie. Between classes and rehearsals, I climb the hill and back, pick Queen Anne's lace, and look out over the school, the town, the strip mall and interstate. There's a storm. It drowns my seedlings, cuts the power. We're in the 3rd act. We light candles, and the audience applauds. Oh, one more. Thank you, thank you.
And thank you everyone for coming out tonight for Margaret's reading. I implore you, please pick up her book. If Margaret wants to offer a PayPal or a Venmo link, she's welcome to do that now. But the best thing you can do for her, I'm assuming from her shaking head, is to go out and buy the book and let Main Street Rag know that this should be printed in all due haste in mass quantities, whatever qualifies as mass quantities in poetry publishing today. So thank you very much, Margaret, for fine reading and for closing out what's been one hell of a start to the year and on many levels. Christ, who knows what the hell's gonna happen in February? I don't know, but we're all gonna deal with it together. We're all gonna share our work either here on Oddball Magazine or with the Stone's Throw issue coming out. So thank you guys very much for your input. This is where we do the obligatory wave. And I want to thank each and every one of you for coming and keeping the open mic strong. And next week we have Jamelia Van Dyke Bailey, who will be featuring her new book, The Woman, WOMXN. I'm looking forward to having her back. This will be her 2nd online reading, and I think her 3rd ever for Stone Soup. She featured at the Brew on the Grid coffee shop in Cambridge just before it closed. She was the last feature for there. And hopefully there'll be more announcements for upcoming live shows very soon. And people are anxious for it, and I want to give it to them. So thank you guys very much. Take care of yourselves. It can be like this every week. All we need is you. And the show's over. See you next time.